Once upon a time, Vicki was trapped by the curse of her thoughts. It had her believing she was powerless, imperfect, and weak. Then one day, the curse started to lessen, and Vicki could see a little clearer. As each day passed, her thoughts improved until she broke free. She then began creating magic in her life. Now, Vicki is getting ready to marry her Prince Charming. This is her manifesting success story. Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and today I have Vicki back with me, and we are going to talk about manifesting an amazing birthday, because I know from coaching, as well as just living, that birthdays are something that can be crappy or can have a story with them. And it's really awesome when you get to shift your birthday story. So welcome, Vicki.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love this topic. So let's dive into it. You had a birthday a little while ago. And some people, like I've said this, some people can have a lot of stories or they have past experiences. Like for me, I've probably said this on the podcast in different birthday episodes. You know, my birthday was in the summer. So very often, like I never got to take cupcakes to school, or which they fix now. They do it. They do all the birthdays at my son's school, like the summer birthdays. They do like the week before school gets out, which I think is cool. Yeah,
cute.
Yeah. And so sometimes people weren't around, and then there's just other layers of stories that like it was okay, but sometimes it wasn't awesome, right? And I really did the work and owned it for myself and changed that story, and they're all awesome now. So, yeah, people have stories.
I forgot your birthday was just sort of recently, and my birthday is technically a summer birthday, but there was always like school. Mine's like early June. So like there was always at least 1 week of school, even if it was exams, like there was something to do, but I never really thought about a summer birthday. I have a lot of my family have Christmas birthdays, like the 25th, 26th, 27th. So I have I know about their experiences with that. I mean, even my husband, his birthday's on the 19th of December. And every year we go through something with him too. So I'm really excited to make this episode because I've also heard other clients ask you questions about birthdays. Like birthdays tend to be a big thing with people.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They come up. And while we're on the topic of my birthday, because I don't know if we'll end up sharing this in another episode, but this year I got to officiate your wedding on my birthday, which is like not an intention that I like ever stated, but was such a cool, fun way to like something fun to get to do on my birthday that can only be like manifested, right? It's only like, oh, I love to have cool, amazing birthdays, having a great birthday story, and then like just having like things come together. That's almost, I don't know that I could have ever set an intention or like that would have, right? Or I wouldn't have even thought of that, but it was just so fun and cool. And I remember, you gave me the date. It was supposed to be a different date. And then you're like, this is the date that was open. I'm like, yeah, that's my birthday. You're like, you don't have to do it. I'm like, no, this sounds fun. Like,
I know. I know. I should have trusted you when you were like, yeah, no, that sounds great. Great way to celebrate my birthday. And in hindsight, like it probably was pretty fun that you could go like get all dressed up and like go to a fancy place and have dinner provided and like dance a little if you wanted and like hang out and meet new people. And it was a beautiful venue. I'm just going to pat myself on the back. So I bet that was fun too.
It was a beautiful venue. It was amazing. Like so good. You did such a good job manifesting that. And like all the things that you would do on your birthday. And I got to like officiate a wedding, which I love.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to like celebrate with your love too and celebrate love too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Amazing. So I love it. And I love that you're changing your story because this isn't always the case. I know like in the past few years, you've had some, like, especially a couple of years ago, you had like an epic, awful, terrible birthday. So give us the backstory of the last few years of what your birthday has looked like.
Well, it's on the top of my head because these episodes just came out about my birthday this past, not this one, but the birthday before that. I had kind of given away my power and ended up moving even when I said I didn't want to move on my birthday. So that was a big learning experience for me. And that was just crappy in that I was stepping so far out of who I had become. It was uncomfortable in a bad way, like
Yes.
it was a crappy way. And all the other ways were, I think my story is playing out. So like the year before, oh my God, I broke up with my boyfriend of 4 years on the day of. I fully owned that I chose that timing, and you had
Uh-huh.
already told me ahead of time. You were like, really let inspiration hit. And I was not able to sit with that discomfort. And I just pushed the breakup, and I was like, I can't do this. We're breaking up. This is it. So I did that. I fully own that. And oh my God, I remember going out to dinner that one time with my cousin and just like crying at the table, eating a very nice steak. And then the year before that was like just an absolute meltdown fail. Like I could go into details, but really it was like I asked for what I wanted and my ex did not deliver. In fact, he did exactly what I told him, opposite of what I wanted. And my dog bit someone in the face and we had to put the dog down. So that all happened on the same evening. Yeah. So there's like,
So this is definitely like a history of terrible birthdays. Like, and
right.
before that, they were probably mediocre, right?
Yeah. They were mediocre before. And I was thinking, I think in my 20s when I lived in New York City, they were actually pretty fun. We had some really great birthdays. And I don't know kind of what happened in there. I don't know. Like when I was on tour, I celebrated a couple birthdays and I don't know what it was, but I do know what it was. It was stories building up and like in a very truncated, short, dense amount of time. I built very vivid stories about how birthdays should be as soon as I got to Denver, like after all that. So that was like 2015, I think I started that path of crappy birthdays.
Right. So like in sort of your 20s, what I gathered from what you said and what I know you're doing in your 20s, it's like it just happened. You weren't because you didn't have a story about how it should look. Like if you're on tour with people, there's sort of limited options. And so in that case, a lot of times we make we don't have to consciously make the decision that it's going to be awesome because it all just kind of naturally, like, well, of course I'm going to celebrate with the people that I'm working with on tour. Like if we have children that day, like they'll sing me happy birthday, like working with children, right. Like that. It's just sort of this built-in experience. And then when it becomes a little more like there takes a little more planning or you get a little older where maybe people aren't as available or other things start to play in it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely that is what happened. Yeah, for sure.
And so like how did you approach your birthday in the past? Like in these when it started to become like not great and really got not great.
Yeah. It just was like it felt like this looming disaster. Like it just felt like this thundercloud I was barreling towards that I had no control over. I always had this underlying story of I don't have enough friends or family willing to celebrate me, or no one will want to come even if I invite them. No one cares enough to plan a party like for me or even show up if it's planned. I mean, overall, it was just like a story of me, my existence being an inconvenience for other people, or like my celebrations being an inconvenience for other people. Yeah. It's very sad.
That's amazing. And like I had is interesting. I'm going to share the story right now because it just came up as you said that and that inconvenience, right? And I think that's part of some of where my story came from. Like I remember coming home from a family vacation, but we came home on my birthday, and I was like 19, but I wanted a birthday celebration, right? Like I wanted that, and my mom, like I get it now where she was coming from. She was tired. We just did a week of travel. Like my sister was playing in a softball tournament there, so it wasn't all vacation. Like, and she didn't want to do it and was basically like, no, like that was your party. And I'm like, but everybody got that. Like the vacation, that wasn't my birthday. Like everybody got that birthday. Yeah, it wasn't for me.
Right.
And I remember kind of, I was young and I don't know if it threw a fit, but she did something. But I think and so as you're telling that story, I remember that story and I remember what happened a couple weeks ago. So I asked him a couple months ago, I said, like, do you want, and he has 2 houses, so he very often has a birthday party at the other house. So we usually do something else. Like we do a trip usually, like the kid gets to go to Disneyland on his birthday. It does not suck.
Yeah.
So we, I said, okay, like this year, like, do you want a party or do you want to go to Super Mario? Like, well, I said, do you want a party or do you want to go somewhere? And he was like, well, where would we go? I was like Universal Studios, Super Mario World, Super Mario. That's what I want. That's what I want. I'm like, okay, so that's what you want instead of a party. He's like, yep. So we have that planned. And then we're having a pool party at the beginning of the year for the class. And he says, like, in the midst of it, or some point around the days that we're planning that, he's like, I just wish I could have a party with my friends. And it had come out that his other house was not, they're doing something different. They're not doing a party. Right. And he's like, I just wish I could have a birthday party. And I was like, well, the only date is in 2 days when we have this pool party. So pool party is now your birthday party.
Okay.
And we were like, when we were at Sam's, they had these amazing, like, under the sea cupcakes already done. Like, I was like, you want these? Yeah. He's like, yes. And I'm like, oh, but what I realized too is, like, as a mom, I got to pick how easy it could be. Right. Like, it was so easy to, like, okay, you want a party? Like, oh, well, we already have people coming over. We'll just add cupcakes to the mix and call it a birthday party.
And
like,
sing happy birthday. There we go.
Sing happy birthday, right? And you get that experience that you want. And it doesn't have to be hard. So that was just a sideline story for moms listening to this. Like, it can be easy and you can choose easy. And you can help create amazing birthday stories for your kids too by choosing easy, right? Because I think eventually kids start to pick up on if it's so stressful to throw a birthday party.
Yeah. And I think we'll get into that with how I ended up having such a great birthday party. It was like, if you looked at it from the outside, you might call it an average day, but just because I'd chosen it, I don't know. I'd chosen easy and I chose what I want. So it felt great.
I love that. All right. Yeah. So, like you said, it was easy. So I'm guessing it wasn't stressful. I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't stressful this year. It just was like fun and flowing and celebratory. And I did so many of the things that I absolutely love and adore. I ended up celebrating twice, celebrated on Sunday, and my birthday was on Tuesday. Sunday, Nick and I hung out all day. I remember the night before he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't really know. Let's just sleep in, see what happens. And I ended up waking up and being like, oh, I want to shower and like get all dolled up, like fully do my hair and makeup. Doesn't happen.
Hold on. Had you planned this would be a birthday day celebration?
Yes. I had
I just want to make that clear.
I didn't, I don't think I said anything in this breakdown about how I, leading up to it, knew that I was like, oh, we're celebrating Sunday. Like,
got it.
There's nothing scheduled Sunday. And sometimes he has some kind of gaming thing. There's like a weekly gaming thing he could do Sundays, but he was like, no, I'm not doing that. We're doing this. And it was interesting too, because with wedding planning, like, anyway, I very intentionally kept Sunday open to celebrate on Sunday. And then Tuesday was the middle of the week. It didn't feel good to like take a bunch of time off. I just was like, it's fine. We'll celebrate Sunday. And that feels really good to me.
So you chose, like, this is first, like, key in this is you chose to celebrate. Like, you didn't think about, or I need to have this, or I need to do this. You chose, like, okay, we are celebrating this day. So you already put the parameter on the day. Okay. So you wake up, you shower, get dolled up.
Yeah. And then I just was like, I want to go do a book haul. Like, I'd gotten some birthday money, and normally I get a little in my head about what do I do with this birthday cash. But this year I just was like, oh, I can buy those books that I've been eyeballing for like a year and a half that I've never been inspired to buy. And that I've listened to on audio a bunch of times. So got all dressed up. We went to our favorite coffee shop and got delicious coffee, drove to Barnes and Noble, bought a bunch of books. And it felt so good just like walking around the bookstore. It just was like, I was just so happy. It was like, and it was so fun. We didn't have a rush. Like, we had no plans. It just was like, oh, I'm just going to keep hanging out here. And then we were inspired we were like, let's go get steaks from Costco and we'll cook at home and watch a movie. And then we're like, oh, we're driving past one of our favorite breweries. Let's stop at the brewery. And we stopped at the brewery, had a beer, and there was a fabulous band playing. It was so fun to listen to this band. Had a great time just sitting there listening to the band. Then rolled up to Costco, got some really great food and like a really nice bottle of wine, and came home, and Nick cooked it all. And I took like a cat nap on the couch.
Amazing.
We ate this fabulous steak and watched this movie that I had wanted to see in theaters. I was dying to see it. And it just never, it was one of those, like, I was never inspired to do it, never wanted to do it. It just never came around. And didn't worry about it. Sure enough, it happened on my birthday that it was available online. So I got to watch it, like streaming. So I got to watch it and eat the delicious steak and have the amazing wine. And that was fabulous. And then I had work. And at work, I'd mentioned to my friend just briefly, my coworker, that I was like, oh, it's my birthday Tuesday. She's like, but you're scheduled. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I celebrate Sunday. It's cool. She's like, no, no, no. I will take your shift. You take the day off. And I was like, oh, great.
Oh.
Sure. So she switched me shifts. So it's not like I was missing out on money. Is that
amazing
crazy that like I didn't ask her, right? So
right, you didn't ask, you didn't go through any stress of like, oh, I should ask for this normal day at work. Oh, like you're like, no, it's gonna be awesome, which leaves the space for it to be even more awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Because even if I had worked, it would have only been a half day, so I would have had half of the other half of the day to hang out. And then I stepped into I am worthy of being celebrated. And I reached out to my friend and asked her if she wanted to get breakfast or hang out at some point during the day. And she was like, duh, of course. So we had a really great time eating breakfast together at this place I've been wanting to get her to take her to for a while. And we had such a lovely little breakfast hangout. And oh, it was so great. And then I'd given myself permission to take the day off of coach work too, like any online work. It was like, good. I will just take the day off. But then I was like inspired to take one of my new books and go to his coffee shop. And I was planning on just like reading, but then I got like hyper focused on work, and like cranked out a bunch of coach stuff that day that I wasn't intending on doing. And it just flew right by. I ate some delicious food, switched to beer at some point. And oh yeah. And then we did sushi and an arcade and my favorite ice cream shop. It was truly like two of my most perfect days. Like if you would ask me what's a perfect day, it would have been one or both of those days.
That's amazing. And there was no like hardcore planning or stress or worry, right? There was only intention.
Yeah. I didn't have a plan for these things. I mean, I think I thought I would like sushi at some point. I think that was my only thought, or even an arcade, but I didn't even try to figure it out. I didn't push it on Sunday either because my friend had already taken the Tuesday shift. So I was like, cool, we'll do it that day and we'll just flow today, see where life takes us.
Amazing. And so we've talked about like the intention, but why else was this year so like different and fun and just like, it just sounds so good. Like, yeah.
I think it was different this year because I stepped into trust, like 100% trust that it would be perfect. The weeks leading up to it, I just kept it open, energetically and physically, and intentionally kept it open, made the choice to keep that time open. And like I said, I didn't even ask for the day off of work, and it just like came to me. And I think that's because I held Sunday open, that I was like, no, I am intentionally celebrating myself Sunday. So then sort of the universe presented me with more of that.
Yeah. And can I pause you right there for an important announcement from how law of attraction works? Because I left it open to celebrate myself, not because I was waiting for someone else to celebrate me or trying to figure out how to get someone else to celebrate me. Your words are, I chose to celebrate myself this day, which if we're not celebrating, like it's very hard if you're not stepping into that, I'm going to celebrate myself, to get other people to. And not that they won't, but you can't even receive it as much. But as soon as you make that shift to I'm going to celebrate me, those floodgates of celebration just open.
That's so interesting. I'm having a little bit of an aha because that was, I've had some birthdays where I've had friends who do want to celebrate with me, and I just didn't feel it. Like I couldn't receive it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
That's amazing.
Like I was not available to take it in because I had such a like strong story of I'm not worthy of being celebrated, or I don't want to ask to be celebrated, so then I was never able to take it in when I was celebrated.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, couple keys here. Like you stepped into trusting it would be perfect, which I want to clarify this a little bit. Like, what does that mean compared to what you did in the past? Like, break it down as simple as possible. Like, trusting it to be perfect means
Not overthinking it. Let me say it a little bit, like a little bit more LOA on track here. If or when you have thoughts, I need to sit down and plan this out, and it doesn't feel good, you got to just let that go. And that can feel a little scary, but for me, the trusting was just like anytime I felt like I needed to force a planning, I just let it go because I knew in the past that it doesn't work. And I've done it before in the past and it just didn't work. So I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it or worrying about it. And it was just natural. And like if you make the choice that it's going to be great and just trust that and hold the space for it, that's going to be enough. And that's what trusting is.
Amazing. All right.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of key number one. What's number two?
Well, kind of like what I just said, holding the space to celebrate. Like for me in the past, a lot of why my birthdays were crappy was because I was giving away my time, aka my power, and which led to really crappy experiences. So this time I was very intentional by setting aside one entire day dedicated only to me. And I will say with the caveat that you can also kind of white knuckle that thought too. Like a great example is for you, you went to a wedding that wasn't necessarily celebrating you the whole time, but it was still a celebration that felt great. So everyone can have different experiences, but I will say if you're like starting this journey of like having a great birthday moving forward, that's a great way to start, is just intentionally setting aside the time dedicated for you. So
Yes.
yeah. And then like another huge key for, having the best birthday possible is to ask for what you want. And for me this year, that was about holding space, because so often in the past I'd given up my time and space and then it doesn't feel good. So this year it was like asking for what I wanted was also holding the space for myself. So even like I just was like, I don't have any plans for this birthday this year, Nick, but I know that Sunday is the day we're doing whatever. Like I wasn't sure if it was going to be a hike or drive down to Denver or I don't know what it would have been, but like I just knew like that's that, but for you it might be like asking your best friend to make your favorite dessert, or asking your parents to host a family dinner with your favorite meal, or asking your partner just to spoil you all day. So ask for what you want. It's very important. I mean, and also with LOA in general is asking for what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think and I love that dessert. And I think this is like, as you get further and further to where your story is, it's amazing. This year, my mom was here a couple weeks before my birthday, and she made I didn't ask, like she just made my favorite chocolate zucchini cake. Like there's a zucchini on the counter, and we went somewhere and she didn't go with us. And I came home to like my favorite cake, which is a lot. There's 2 cakes I'd request on my birthday. That's her homemade one. And I think you might know this or maybe, but the old cake that was at the market called the Spring Fling. There are people who still make it that's not at the market anymore, but you can find it if you're in Denver and you miss that. Like some of the bakers have started on their own. So if you're gonna buy me, that's the one. If my mom's making it, that's what I want. And she just made it. It was just a couple weeks early and it was amazing. Like it's just like I got to have what I would have wanted,
Right. You would have, because you have such a habit of asking. Well, you've set up the expectation kind of for the universe that that's what you want. You ask for it. That's pretty much always what you want. And you ended up getting it even without asking for it.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Amazing. And I will say, like my mom, like to kind of bring it back to sort of where we started. So this year she made that a couple weeks before. Last year she had it ordered the spring fling as a surprise and had my sister go pick it up and bring it, and she paid for it. And yeah, just so I got cool. That too. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's awesome. Anything else we want to say as we wrap up this How to Manifest an Amazing Birthday episode?
No, other than like take it easy, like we didn't really get into it here, but like I used to have stories about like if it's not a big party with a lot of people, then it doesn't count. Or like if it's not something super epic, then it's not me celebrating myself. Like holding this, what I said earlier about holding the space also applies to holding the space for any kind of celebration. Like it could just be your best friend and you getting breakfast. It could be an epic blowout pool party. It could be a trip to Maui. It could be anything like that, but just like keep it open. It doesn't have to be anything as long as it feels good to you. And feeling good and celebrating is what you want on your birthday. So if you focus on the feeling, like what feels good and celebratory, that's what you'll get. And I would challenge you to ask yourself, does this actually feel good, or is this what I think should make me feel good?
Yes. Huge.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Because you could force any of it. You could be like, no. It would only feel good if we did a wine tour in Napa Valley. That's the only thing that would make me feel good. But would it, or would like upstate New York be fine? Like a wine tour in upstate New York. So like, just be aware of yourself. Like, are these things what actually feel good, or are they what you've seen on TV or your friends do, or your mom's best friend do for her? It's like, just be aware of what you want for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I had many birthday, I don't know how many, but there was sort of a point in between big celebration. I don't know. They were great birthdays, but it would be the same thing technically that my sister and my friend did it like we did like every Saturday. We just they would then indulge me and go to more open houses. Like we would go have an amazing brunch and go to more open houses. Like we'd just go to open houses, and it's not like we didn't have a habit, or we weren't in that, like in that time period we were having brunch every Saturday or every Sunday. That was a routine. Is the same thing. But, when they would ask, I'd be like, go, like, I want to go have a great brunch and go look at house. Like, this is just what I want to do. Like, and it doesn't matter that that's what we always do it. For me, that is what felt good.
Yeah. And you don't have to compare it or judge it. It can just be that, or it can be a trip to Barnes and Noble for 2 hours. Like, it can be what you want, what feels good in the moment.
Yes. I love it. All right, all of you, thanks for joining us today. Go out and create your next amazing birthday. The telling of stories is so powerful, both to the person telling it and the person receiving it. Since 30,000 BC, we as humans have told stories to teach and guide. And now we, with Manifesting Success Stories, hope to inspire you to what is possible in your own life. If you want more manifesting success, go to moremanifestingsuccess.com, where you'll find links to anything we've talked about on the show. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, you have the power to write your own happy ever after.